Chapter 3, Bronwyn, Tuesday, September 25th, 8:50 a.m. I can't stop doing the math in my head. It's 8:50 a.m. on Tuesday, and 24 hours ago, Simon was going to homeroom for the last time. 6 hours and 5 minutes from then, we were heading to detention. An hour later, he died. 17 years gone just like that. I slide down into my chair in the back corner of homeroom, feeling 25 heads swivel my way as I sit. Even without about that to provide an update, news of Simon's death was everywhere by dinner time last night. I got multiple texts from everyone I had ever given my number to. "You all right?" My friend Yumiko reaches over and squeezes my hand. I nod, but the gesture makes the pounding in my head even worse. Turns out half a flask of bourbon on an empty stomach is a terrible idea. Luckily, both my parents were still at work when Nate dropped me off, and my sister Maeve poured enough black coffee down my throat that I was semi-coherent by the time they got home. Any lingering effects I chalked up to trauma. The first bell rings, but the speaker crackle that usually signals morning announcements never comes. Instead, our homeroom teacher, Mrs. Park, clears her throat and gets up from behind her desk. She's clutching a sheet of paper that trembles in her hand as she starts to read. "The following is an official announcement from Bayview High's administration. I'm so sorry to have to share this terrible news. Yesterday afternoon, one of your classmates, Simon Kelleher, suffered a massive allergic reaction. Medical help was called immediately and arrived quickly, but unfortunately it was too late to help Simon. He died at the hospital shortly after arrival." A low whispering buzz runs through the room as somebody chokes out a sob. Half the class already has their phones out. Rules be damned today, I guess. Before I can stop myself, I pull my phone from my backpack and swipe all about that. Or two about that, sorry. I half expect a notification for the juicy new update Simon bragged about before detention yesterday, but of course there's nothing except last week's news. This is last week's news. Our favorite stoner drummer's trying to his hand at film. RC's installed a camera in the light fixture in his bedroom, and he's been holding premieres for all his friends. You've been warned, girls. Parentheses. Too late for KL, though. And next. Everyone's seen the flirting between manic pixie dream girl TC and new rich boy GR, but who knew it might be something more? Apparently not her boyfriend, who sat oblivious in the bleachers at Saturday's game while T and G got hot and heavy right underneath of him. Sorry, JD. Always the last to know. The thing about that was you could pretty much guarantee every word was true. Simon built it sophomore year after he spent spring break at some expensive coding camp in Silicon Valley, and nobody except him was allowed to post there. He had sources all over the school, and he was choosy and careful about what he reported. People usually denied it or ignored it, but he was never wrong. I'd never been featured. I'm too squeaky clean for that. There's only one thing Simon might have written about me, but it would have been almost impossible for him to find out. Now I guess he never will. Mrs. Park is still talking. "There will be a grief counseling provided in the auditorium all day. You may leave class anytime you feel the need to speak with someone about this tragedy. The school is planning a memorial service for Simon after Saturday's football game, and we'll provide those details as soon as they're available. We'll also be sure to keep you up to date on his family's arrangements once we know them." The bell rings and we all get up to leave, but Mrs. Park calls my name before I've even collected my backpack. "Bronwyn, can you hold back a moment?" Yumiko shoots me a sympathetic look as she stands, tucking a strand of her choppy black hair behind her ear. "Kate and I'll wait for you in the hallway, okay?" I nod and grab my bag. Mrs. Park is still dangling the announcement from one hand as I approach her desk. Bronwyn, Principal Gupta wants all of you who were in the room with Simon to receive one-on-one counseling today. She'd asked me to let you know that you're scheduled for 11 o'clock in Mr. O'Farrell's office. Mr. O'Farrell is my guidance counselor, and I'm very familiar with his office. I spent a lot of time there over the past 6 months strategizing college admissions. Is Mr. O'Farrell doing the counseling? I asked. I guess that wouldn't be too bad. Mrs. Park's forehead creases. Oh no, the school's bringing in a professional. Great. I'd spent half the night trying to convince my parents I didn't need to see anybody. They'd be thrilled it was forced on me anyway. Okay, I say, and wait in case she has anything else to tell me, but she just pats my arm awkwardly. As promised, Kate and Yumiko are hovering outside the door. They flank me as we walk to first period calculus, like they're shielding me from intrusive paparazzi. Yumiko steps aside, though, when she sees Evan Neiman walking outside our classroom door. Waiting. Bronwyn, hey. Evan's wearing one of his usual monogram polo shirts with EWN embroidered in script above his heart. I've always wondered what the W stands for. Walter, Wendell, William. I hope for his sake it's William. Did you get my text last night? I did. Need anything? Want some company? Since that's the only time Evan Neiman has ever texted me, my cynical side decided he was angling for a front row seat to the most shocking thing that's ever happened at Bayview. I did, thanks. I was really tired, though. Well, if you ever feel like talking, let me know. Evan glances around the empty hallway. He's a stickler for punctuality. We should probably get inside, huh? Yumiko grins at me and we take our seat and whispers. Evan kept asking where you were at mathletes practice yesterday. I wish I could match her enthusiasm, but at some point between detention and calculus, I lost all interest in Evan Neiman. Maybe it's post-traumatic stress from the Simon situation, but right now I can't remember what attracted me in the first place. Not that I was ever head over heels, mostly I thought Evan and I had potential to be a solid couple until graduation, at which point we'd break up amicably and head to our different colleges, which I realize is pretty uninspiring, but so is high school dating, for me anyway. I sit through calculus, my mind far, far away from math, and then suddenly it's over and I'm walking to AP English with Kate and Yumiko. My head's so full of what happened yesterday that when we pass Nate in the hallway, it seems perfectly natural to call out, "Hi, Nate." I stop, surprising us both, and he does too. "Hey," he replies. His dark hair is more disheveled than ever, and I'm pretty sure he's wearing the same t-shirt as yesterday. Somehow, though, it works on him a little too well. Everything from his tall, rangy build to his angular cheekbones and wide-set, dark-fringed eyes is making me lose my train of thought. Kate and Yumiko are staring at him too, but in a different way. More like he's an unpredictable zoo animal in a flimsy cage. Hallway conversations with Nate McCauley aren't exactly part of our routine. "Have you had your counseling session yet?" I ask. His face is a total blank. "My what?" "Grief counseling, because of Simon. Didn't your homeroom teacher tell you?" "I just got here," he says, and my eyes widen. I never expected Nate to win attendance awards, but it's almost 10 o'clock. "Oh, well, all of us who were there are supposed to have one-on-one sessions. Mine's at 11. Jesus Christ, Nate mutters, raking a hand through his hair. The gesture pulls my eyes to his arm, where they remain until Kate clears her throat. My face heats as I snap back to attention. Too late to register whatever she said. "Anyway, see you around," I mumble. Yumiko bends her head toward mine as soon as we're out of earshot. "He looks like he just rolled out of bed," she whispers, "and not alone." "I hope you doused yourself in Lysol after getting off his motorcycle," Kate adds. "He's a total man whore." I glare at her. You realize it's sexist to say man whore, right? If you have to use the term, you should at least be gender neutral about it. "Whatever," Kate says dismissively. "Point is, He's a walking STD. I don't answer. That's Nate's reputation, sure, but we don't really know anything about him. I almost tell her how carefully he drove me home yesterday, except I'm not sure what point I'd be trying to make. After English, I head for Mr. O'Farrell's office, and he waves me inside when I knock on his open door. Have a seat, Bronwyn. Dr. Resnick is running a little late, but she'll be here shortly. I sit down across from him and spy my name scrawled across the manila folder placed neatly in the middle of the desk. I move to pick it up, then hesitate, not sure if it's confidential, but he pushes it toward me. Your recommendation from the Model UN organizer, and plenty of time for Yale's early action deadline. I exhale, letting out a small sigh of relief. Oh, thanks, I say and pick up the folder. It's the last one I've been waiting for. Yale's a family tradition. My grandfather was a visiting scholar there and moved his whole family from Columbia to New Haven when he got tenure. All his kids, including my dad, went to undergrad there, and it's where my parents met. They always say our family wouldn't exist if it weren't for Yale. You're very welcome. Mr. O'Farrell leans back and adjusts his glasses. Were your ears burning earlier? Mr. Camino stopped by to ask if you'd be interested in tutoring for chemistry this semester. A bunch of bright juniors are struggling the way you did last year. They'd love to learn strategies from someone who ended up acing the course. I have to swallow a couple of times before I can answer. I would, I say as brightly as I can manage, but I might be overcommitted already. My smile stretches too tightly over my teeth. No worries, you have a lot on your plate. Chemistry was the only class I'd ever struggled with, so much so that I had a D average at midterm. With every quiz I bombed, I could feel the Ivy League slipping out of reach. Even Mr. O'Farrell started to gently suggest any top-tier school would do. So I brought my grades up and got an A by the end of the year, but I'm pretty sure nobody wants me sharing my strategies with the other students. Cooper. Oops.